I now invite Srihari Vittal, uh, who is going to talk about a very interesting thing. Srihari's topic is Mothers, Storytellers, the Civilization Makers, Studies on Informal Storytelling Event Genres. Srihari is a student currently pursuing data analytics with IT Madras, and his inclination in Indian cultural knowledge has led him to a leadership course with Rashtam School of Public Leadership. Over to you, Srihari.
Namaskaram to all of you. Thank you so much for the humble introduction, Shivakumarji. I would like to start by invoking the Anugraha of the Divine, and I would like to also extend an invitation to all of you to join me in this invocation. Oh. Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. It was warm. I was feeling protected, loved, and cared. But somewhere I felt I wanted to grab my mother's attention. So I gently punched my mother's womb. She didn't pay attention. She thought it's just another hunger pang or some gas issue. So I noticed she's not paying the attention I'm seeking. So this time I punched a little hard. Ha! This time she shrieked in pain. Amma, she said. And then she asked me, Enna kanna, ennachu? Which translates to, what happened, my dear? What happened? What's wrong? And with a beaming smile on her face, she reached out to the radio next to her and switched on the radio. And the music that played on the radio is the same music which still, is something that I love to this day and helps me go into a state of calmness and peace, even to this day. It is this exact song. Kurayondrum illai. Every time I listen to this song, all my worries, anxieties just vanish. And every time I listen to the song, the image of Bhagavan Sri Krishna comes to my mind. And as I grew up, recently I got the opportunity to understand the meaning behind the song. And my association to this song just grew. And my identification with the Lord, with Bhagavan Sri Krishna, increased manifold. So I would like to begin my presentation by, dedicating this presentation to my Amma. Thank you, Amma, for instilling Deva Bhakti in me. And I would also like to dedicate this to all the mothers over here and the women who are going to become mothers in the future. And having said that, I should really, mention that I feel very privileged and blessed to be here amidst all of you. I've been listening to all the work that has been done and the sharing of wisdom since morning. And I feel myself to be, a little out of place, but I'm happy that I got this opportunity through Indica to share whatever little I have learned in this study, and also looking to learn more from the wisdom of all of you. So I would like to start by asking who is a good storyteller. Well, these are my observations from what little storytelling I have done in the past few years. And to me, a good storyteller is one who makes the listener admire the character and the story. So when a story is well narrated, the storyteller is able to demand the full attention of this listener and also helps the listener be engrossed in the story. Well, it's a beautiful moment of at-one-ment between the storyteller, the listener, and the story. That's how I would put it. And as the listener starts admiring the character and the story, a closeness is built between the story and the listener. When this closeness is there, the listener starts possessing and embodying the essence and the message of the story. A master storyteller is one who can really help the listener, resonate and embody that message or the essence of the story. So having said that, the main, the premise or the essence of this study that I have done is mother as a prenatal storyteller. And what does it mean to me as, like mother as a prenatal storyteller is that the mother is someone who can transfer her consciousness to the child in the womb through the art of storytelling. Now, the question comes, what is in it for the mother to transfer consciousness to the child? And the basic question is, well, or the conception is parenting is about physical and mental care of both the mother and the baby. But from my own lived experience, from my own small experience that I shared in the beginning, and also from what I have read from history and from my scriptures, I noticed this, very subtle, addition in our land that has been there in motherhood, and that is this. In Bharat, nourishment also comes from the deep impression of ideas, values, feelings the mother leaves in the child's consciousness by conceiving and creating a character capable of manifesting an ideal. And unfortunately, this very concept of motherhood and pregnancy is becoming lost in the sands of time. So having said that, the idea of nourishment also has this angle of imprinting some ideals, values, feelings by the mother in the child. How can the mother do that? And I feel the art of storytelling plays the perfect tool or the medium to ensure that or to realize this objective goal. Now, why should we use storytelling to actually transfer the transference of consciousness between the mother and the child? This is the next question which we land in. So the rishis such as Ved Vyas ji, Valmiki ji, they have given us through their, because of their eternal compassion, thanks to them, they have codified the truths, magnified them, simplified them, and given to us in a very presentable and an absorbable way through stories from Itihasas and Puranas. And these stories from the Itihasa, Purana, and other scriptures, they have the important aspects of life to live a beautiful life. And when these stories are narrated to the mother and to the child who's in the mother's womb, it forms a deep imprint in the personality, and the personality gets molded. This is my proposition over here. And this imprint that is formed in the baby, in the fetus, will help the baby later in his or her decisions, the behavior, and the emotions. Now, to back this proposition which I just made, I would like to share, let us look at some examples from our own civilization, some examples of civilizational heroes who have been molded through the prenatal storytelling. So we can start with the example of Bhakta Prahlad. Bhakta Prahlad, as we all know, was born in an Asuric lineage. His father is Hiranyakashipu, who was an Asura, and my mother Kayadhu. But he was inspired by Naradji when he was in his womb, in mother's in his mother Kayadu's womb by telling the stories of Lord Narayana and singing the glories of his names. So this created a demand for Vishnu and Dharma in Bhakta Prahlad. And this is a very big example of prenatal storytelling where it just not just molded Prahlad, but also through Prahlad, even today, Prahlad is celebrated as an epitome of bhakti, devotion. Another example we could say is Abhimanyu. And the story, as we all know, is when Abhimanyu was in his mother's womb, Mother Subhadra, he was taught a very, very grand secret. You know, a grand secret, of course, obviously means only a few people have access to, a rahasya. And this was taught to him, which was basically how to enter a very difficult military formation, the Chakra Vyuha, it's called. And so when the story was narrated, Subhadra ji, Mother Subhadra was listening, but towards the end, when the important information of how to come out of the Vyuha was being narrated, she fell asleep, and so did the baby, so did Abhimanyu. So Abhimanyu had the knowledge of how to go in, but did not know how to come out. And this is another example of prenatal storytelling where higher knowledge, something of higher intelligence can be passed on when the baby is already, is still there. It's unborn. It's in the fetus. It's a fetus. And then we have the example of Rishi Ashtavakra. And Ashtavakra, when he was in his mother's womb, Mother Sujata, she was in the atmosphere of a Gurukula. So she used to sit down and listen to the others who were reciting Vedic mantras and hymns. And so was the baby. So was Ashtavakra. And it seems at one moment, Ashtavakra corrected his father who had made a mistake while chanting Vedas. And he had earned a curse for that, for which he had 8 deformities, it's also told. And not just that, he is the one who inspired Raja Janaka. It's also said he is the one who helped him illuminate to the highest knowledge. And Rishi Ashtavakra is, of course, one of the most renowned rishis of yoga. And of course, Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji Maharaj was narrated stories by his mother, Jijabai, when he was in her womb. And Mother Jijabai used to narrate stories of Raja Ram and about his Rama Rajya, the decisions he made, his life history, Ramayana, also from Mahabharata. And this was what helped him shape his personality. She gave a sense of dharma to Shivaji Maharaj. And that was what molded him into one of the finest rajas that Bharat saw. He was a dharma rakshaka, an embodiment of willpower, clarity, and emotional balance. And this is another example of prenatal storytelling. And the important aspect of all this is these were not just inspirational for the baby in the womb, but the baby went on to do something for the larger society. And then we also have the example of Rishi Upamanyu. So Upamanyu learned a mantra from his mother when he was still in his mother's womb. And later on, when he wanted to please Lord Shiva, he recited this mantra and had the darshan of Lord Shiva, of Ishvara. This is another example of prenatal storytelling. Even mantras, the music, the sounds, chants, all of that, Vedic mantras, not just stories, all these form a deep imprint, just like how for me, a music, a song, Kurayondrumillai, that plays an imprint. It stays with the personality, the character of the baby, of the fetus. So with that, I would like to, backing my preposition, which I earlier made with these examples, I would like to now say, what are the powers of prenatal storytelling? So with these examples, it's pretty evident, and we could say that the child's mental and behavioral development starts right from conception. Usually, the conception is after birth is when some of the behavioral development happens. But here, these examples are testimony to the fact that these start right from conception. And so the mother can shape the character of the child by investing her energies through a resolute will and a conscious thought process. And this is what all the mothers which we have just seen have done, starting from Mother Kayadhu, Mother Subhadra, Mother Jijabai, and so on. So through prenatal storytelling, we can instill a sense of dharma and a spiritual seeking in children. This is what happened to Shivaji Maharaj. And in fact, for all the examples which we saw. So what is this sense of dharma we talk about? It's to do the right thing at the right time for the benefit of all. And all these stories which talk of the truth, the eternal truth, in a very simple way, and talks about all these important factors of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the purusharthas, the pursuits of life, in a very consumable and absorbable way through stories. That makes it easier for the mother also to consciously process the story through her thought and will, and also to create a deep imprint in the baby, in the fetus. And according to me, there is no other gift. This is priceless. You know, if we could give this to the fetus, the baby, it's simply priceless. And this fulfills the child's life and harmonizes the society at large. Not just the individual's purushartha, but through the individual, a greater goal can be achieved if we could do this, if we could wield the power of prenatal storytelling. And so I would like to declare with all my conviction, and I would like to also pursue more study along these lines, is that through prenatal storytelling, we can mold an entire generation. And this is what we say by civilizational makers. If mothers can, learn the art of prenatal storytelling, or if we can do more study and action in the field of prenatal storytelling, and help mothers have a conscious birthing, and then we could definitely realize of think of molding an entire generation and reawakening a civilization. And with that, I would like to just mention here the three Shaktis: Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So I would like to refer to the Yoga Darshana here. And in that, we have the Shiva and Shakti. Both these are, eternal principles. Shiva is absolute consciousness and Shakti is conscious energy. So these principles pervade the whole of creation. They are inseparable, just as how the sun's rays is inseparable from the sun. And so, as I mentioned, Shakti has three forms: Icha, Jnana, and Kriya. That is, Icha refers to will, the power of will, and Jnana refers to the power of knowledge, and Kriya refers to the power of action. So without these, no action is possible. Without these three Shaktis, no action is possible. And hence, in every action, these three Shaktis are inherent. Having said that, knowing this and bringing this awareness to each and every action of ours will help us harness it and not just be a product of it. With that being said, I would like to mention that the true domain of women is spiritual. We forget it but too often. To bear a child and construct his body almost subconsciously is not enough. The work commences when, by the power of thought and will, one willfully conceives and consciously creates a character capable of manifesting an ideal. I would like to offer my prayers and my study and surrender myself to the Divine Mother and seek her blessings and her guidance in my path of seeking further and in my study. With that, I would like to conclude my address. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Harihi Om. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Srihari. Uh, uh, I think the mothers play a very, very crucial role. All of us are aware of it, and especially the example of Jijabai that you gave of Shivaji. I think that stands out as an exemplar, for this.